Sorry for the weird music because this is the only one I can use. Streamliners have been around since the 1930s, and some today have been preserved. Some famous names come from all over the world. Such engines as like the Duchess of Hamilton, Flying Scotchman, and even the Mallard, or the A4 Pacifics if you prefer those. However, some classes weren't as lucky as others. Some were either not preserved, or some were just completely scrapped. From famous names that were made by famous companies to big heavy giants, I'm here to count down the top 10 streamliners. Number 10. The New Haven I-5s. The New Haven I-5 class were 464 Hudson steam locomotives, built for high-speed passenger service. Only 10 of these locomotives were built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1937 for the New Haven, New Haven and Hartford Railroad, which referred to the locomotives as the shoreline type. The I-5 hold a railroad premier trains, the Yankee Clipper and the Merchants Limited, beginning in the 1938 and continued to do so until 1950. The I-5 class was designed to take place of the New Havens gaining fleet, and the I-4 classes Pacifics, which had seen heavy use pulling passenger trains for 20 years over the shoreline route between New York and Boston. Outwardly, 10 of these New Haven I-5s looked alike when delivered. All were black with a silver trim, and all had box plot driving wheels. However, each locomotive did not use the same equipment and materials. Sadly, though, they did not last very long. By the end of World War II, the New Haven purchased diesels. All were retired and scrapped by the end of World War II. But there is a train in Australia that lives on the legacy of the New Havens. So I guess we still have a representation of these New Havens, right? Number 9. The Chesapeake Ohio steam turbine, M1. This is the only steam turbine I have on my list, so don't worry about any runs. The Chesapeake Ohio class M1 was a fleet of 3 steam turbine locomotives built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works for the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway in 1947 through 1948 for the service of the Chessie Streamliner. The CNWE was one of the several railroads to load and abandon coal as a fuel source and saw steam turbine technology as a possible alternative to diesel. At the time of its construction, it was the longest single-type unit locomotive in the world. The design of the M1 was a collaborative between the CNWE, the Baldwin Locomotive Works, and the Washington and the Westinghouse. Unfortunately, the CNWE canceled the Chessie in 1948 before it ran out of revenue service, depriving the M1 of their reason for the existence. The M1s themselves proved expensive to operate and functionally unreliable. They spent their short careers operating between Clint Ford and Charlesville, Virginia. The locomotives were scrapped in 1950. There has been other steam turbines that were built in the world. Some included one that was a Union Pacific. One was built by the Pennsylvania Railroad, and one was built by the Baltimore. Unfortunately, all these did not do well, and even some that were built in Britain were pretty popular, but unfortunately, all were scrapped. Rather unfortunate, but I mean, they were pretty expensive, so. Number 8. The CNWE E4 steam locomotives. This one I really like. It's a pretty nice futuristic design. Well, for the 1930s it was. These futuristic locomotives were built in the 1930s. The Chicago and Northwestern Railways Class E2 was a 462 Pacific type locomotive built by the American Locomotive Company in Cincinnati, New York in 1923. 12 were originally built, and all were later converted. 4 of these locomotives gained the Class E2 design in late 1934 when they converted to burn oil instead of upgrading with larger drivers and had other changes made in order to run at high speeds in preparation for pulling the Twin Cities Chicago 400 the next year. Here's an example of an early E4 or an E2. The other 8 were converted to Class E2B, which was similar except they remained coal-fired. The E2 was among the fastest steam locomotives built in the world in 1935. It was recorded running in excess of 108 miles per hour, 174 kilometers per hour on a fall evening that year, as it reached 85 miles, 137 kilometers for the Milwaukee and Chicago in 65 minutes. Attaching its highest speeds built between Highland Park and Evanston. While fast for a day, it was not quite a match for the Milwaukee Road Class A, and later F7 engines would ran the rival Hiawatha. Originally destined Hiawatha. Watch out for the Hiawatha, they're also on this list. So get ready. Originally, destined to haul the famous 400 express trains, they were used on longer distance. Chicago to haul the famous 400 express trains. They were used on the longer distance Chicago to Omaha runs. None to power the 400 fleet. By the time they were delivered, the railway managed decided that streamlined steam was the wrong direction, and instead placed orders with General Motors electric motive division for the new diesels. Locomotives never had the chance to show their stuff on the 400 trains. However, they spread by the new diesel locomotives, they were coming into favor with the railroads of the day. Beautiful aero design and application, and they were never seen again once the class was scrapped. Rather unfortunate, because there was one 464 that was built in Iowa, in Council Bluff, Iowa, which was numbered 405 or 4005 if you prefer. Oh well, it'd be nice to see it preserved. Number 7. The Union Pacific M1000. The 1934 Union Pacific M1000 streamline train was designed by Pullman's Martin B. Bloomberg. Based on the design, the principles adapt from a 1932 lightweight aluminum Pullman rail car created by aviation designer William Bushnell Stout, who later went to work for Ford. The new train was streamlined, low at the rails, incorporated in a host of new technologies, and it was built in a series of linked aircraft fuel large sections as a series of agricultural aluminum tubes. In the ways the M1000 were revolutionary. Made with aluminum alloy, the 3 cars together weighed a total of only 85 tons. However, the M10000 had several fatal flaws. While visually attractive and able to run at rapid speeds, the M10,000 did not match the Zeppler. In turn, they used a high-speed diesel engine, which was the forerunner of all modern locomotives. While the M10,000 was used in less significant, despite oil change, the Zeppler's stainless steel construction was perfect for the high-speed rail travel. While the M10,000's delivery restriction prevented problematic and the train was scrapped in 1940. I couldn't really find that much information on this one since it was pretty much a pain to find any information about this train. Number 6. The Pennsylvania Railroad 6446 S1. Number 6100. Everything about the Pennsylvania Railroad was seemingly larger than life. At its peak, it's almost any measure. It was the largest railroad in the world, operating some 30,000 miles of track, carrying more people than tonnage and freight than any other railroad. So it comes to no surprise that the PRR constructed one of the largest and most powerful passenger steam locomotives ever built. The S1 started from a design directive that called for a duplex engine capable of hauling a 1,000-ton passenger train and 100 miles per hour on level grade. The PRR contracted with three of the largest supplies of steam engines to build the S1 at PRR's sprawling Juniata Works at Altoona, Pennsylvania, also considered one of the largest locomotive and railcar construction repair. Yeah, that is a pretty big locomotive if I had the same one, so yeah. The S1 prototype measured a massive 140 feet in length and width and weighed about 1,060,000 pounds, with a full tender when it was completed early in 1939. Yeah, so technically this is the heaviest steam locomotive besides the Union Pacific Big Boys and the PRR Q1, or the Q2 actually. Sorry. With its streamlined bodywork, countries and Raymond Loewy, with the streamlined bodywork by Raymond Loewy, which was a pretty successful streamliner. It looked like nothing else on the tracks. The S1 had a difficult time navigating many curves on the PRR's vast network of tracks, particularly at speed. Eventually, it served only between the PRR's Crestline, Ohio, and station in Chicago. Unfortunately, the S1 is said to have exceeded 140 miles per hour. Unofficially, which would have made it the fastest steam train ever. Another problem with the PRR duplexes that would occur with pretty much every other duplex that was made by the PRR, or Pennsylvania Railroad, was that they would always have wheel slippage. With these limitations, the Pennsylvania Railroad retired the S1 from service in 1945. By then, the lower skirts gave it the streamlined look that it had long been removed by frustrated mechanics, who found it difficult to get underneath the bodywork to repair and maintain the big engine. The PRR was scrapped in late 1948. Sorry if I'm getting some fans that watch Jim Kovac, even though he's British, that I put this on here, even though he has no respect for it. It may have looked pretty, but it was a pain, but just deal with it. Number 5. The Milwaukee Road Hiawatha's. I decided to include both of these classes of the Hiawatha because both were made by the same company in Milwaukee. Let's get down to history lesson. The first streamlined steam locomotive was the Milwaukee Road Hiawatha, introduced in 1935. That's what the information gave me, so don't add me on that. The train was designed by Otto Kohler, much like the New Havens we looked at earlier, a noted industrial designer and an artist and painter. The Hiawatha's name was from a character described as a swift of foot in the epic Henry Wadsworth Longfellow poem. I'm not sure if that's Greek, but try saying that 5 times fast. Try saying that 5 times fast, eh? The Hiawatha was very close to beating the world steam record, but Mallard took the crown in the 1930s. Yes, because it is the fastest steam locomotive that is preserved. Sorry. The stylish and colorful Hiawatha was a smash hit, hauling 1 million people in 40 months and spawning larger steamers and later diesels to haul a series of distinctive orange and crimson passenger cars. The new Hiawathas offered luxurious accommodators, including the tap room. Try saying that 5 times fast, I bet you get screwed up. The first stand of the cocktail bar on American railroads. Later, the Hiawatha steam locomotives were based on 464s, Hudson type wheel arrangement, and gathered pulling power, and were coal-fired. But just like the New Havens, when the diesels replaced them on the Hiawathas, all were cut up by the early 1940s. These trains will always be remembered as the most famous streamliner in America, or one of the most famous passenger streamliners. At least we have the models to live on these legends, though, I guess. At least we have it. Excuse me. At least we have the models to keep these legends alive, right? Number 4. The New York Central 464 Hudson steam locomotives. More famous steam locomotives. Well, shall we? A bit of prehistory. On February 14th, 1927, the New York Central presented the first of the fleet of 275 steam locomotives of a 464 wheel arrangement, which were named by the Hudson type. Like I said with the New Havens and the Hiawathas, the design was influenced by the recent Lima Superpower 284 Ford and the New York Central Pacifics. About all but 10 of them were built by Elco. The others were built by Lima. The Hudsons were designed by the New York Central's former chief engineer of motive power, Paul W. Kielfer. The Hudsons were typically used to pull 16 to 18 car Pullman trains at speeds up to 94 miles per hour. All had boosters on the rear axle of the train truck, which added roughly 10,000 lives. Starting the TE, following the successor streamlined Mercury trains, which you'll see eventually, the New York Central decided to launch all new train sets in Chicago line, on its Chicago line. In 1938, the industrial designer Henry Dreyfuss commissioned by the New York Central to design and streamline train sets at Art Deco style, with the new locomotive and the passenger cars redeemed on the blue-grays, the colors of the New York Central. Another famous New York Central train was designed by Dreyfuss in the Empire State Express, which you can clearly see on screen. Yep, that's what it looks like. In 1941, the New York Central contracted the Bud to build a stainless steel fleet of passenger equipment and to upgrade the train service. One of these trains was the Empire State Express and had specifically equipment dedicated to the Empire State to the service. As famous as these trains were, however, they were retired after the end of World War II, just like how the New Havens were, after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and broken up for scrap. Like I said with the Hiawathas, at least we have models. At least, I wish a replica was made of this though. That would be really nice. Number 3. The UP49ers. This is one of my favorite streamliners, to be honest. And this is the last UP streamliner, I promise. Like I said with the 2 other streamliners I mentioned, which were the steam turbine and the M1000. I mean M10000 if you like that. There was another one I was going to add on here, but that would be too much Union Pacifics. The UP Streamline 49er locomotives, although similar in appearance, were actually two altogether different types of locomotives. The Union Pacific Omaha shop streamlined two of their existing locomotives in 1937. Locomotives number 702 and locomotive number 2906 were the two main engines that were streamlined, but they had a lot of differences. Number 702 was a 482, while the number 2906 was a 462. Number 702 was a mountain type, while the number 2609 was one of 10 Baldwin P13s. They were both really popular in the UP, and both trains went through cities between Omaha and Denver, or Oregon. By both the Pacific 296 and Mountain 702 were served between 1939 and 1941. On the 49er, a heavyweight at all Pullman streamliner departing 5 times a month from Chicago to San Francisco. The site of the Golden Gate expansion, both of the locomotives were painted in the UP's pre-war streamline colors in the armor yellow, leaf brown, and scarlet. Unfortunately, the 2906 was retired before the 1940s. Number 702 went on an incredible 32-year career as a rescue locomotive or stalled engine. Both chassis of UP will always be remembered as the most successful streamliners and most famous in the UP. Number 2, the city of Memphis. Yeah, this one was very controversial since I did not know what to put on the list. Oh well, let's get down to the history lesson. The city of Memphis was powered by one of the last steam locomotives to ever streamline. The six cars were all rebuilt and streamlined by the NC and STL shops and from heavyweight cars. The six cars were originally Pullman heavyweight hauler cars before the purchase by the NC and STL for conversions and coaches in June of 1941. By the end of 1956, the NC and STL lost the contracts in 1957. The locomotive was scrapped. I didn't have really that much information on this one, but it was blue and cream, kind of like the C&J Blue Comet, which I should have put on here. But imagine having one of these as a model, or at least having one as a replica. That'd be really interesting. Now, before I get to number 1, I have some honorable mentions. I have Francisco Lines. It was a beautiful locomotive, but unfortunately didn't last long. Really rough shot of view, people. The Southern P4s. They looked pretty, just that they didn't last long. Commodore Vanderbilt. A really nice looking locomotive, but unfortunately was scrapped. I think a model of this would be really nice. Mercury, or the Mercury if you've been on it. I was so close to putting this on the list that I almost completely forgot about it. But I couldn't do it. And last one, Zeppler. Probably the most famous streamliner that ever was built. And now, here is my number 1 pick. Rough shot from 2 people. Like it. the Reading Crusader. This was a very controversial one for me, but the Crusader deserves to be at this spot since it was a beautiful streamlined locomotive. The Crusader was a 5-car stainless steel streamlined express train that ran on a 90.3 mile route from Philadelphia's Reading Terminal to New Jersey City's Comptonville Terminal, with a ferry connecting to the lower Manhattan and Liberal Street. The Reading Railroad provided the service in partnership with the Central Railroad of New Jersey, or CHA, in which it was the majority owner of capital stock. The trains that included the Crusader ran on Reading Railroad tracks from Reading Terminal in Philadelphia to Boundbrook, New Jersey, where they continued on CNJ tracks to Compound Terminal, New Jersey, to Terminal in New Jersey City. In order to better compete for passenger businesses from Philadelphia to New York, with its rival Pennsylvania Railroad and attract more riders. In 1937, the railroad introduced the new Crusader Primer service. This dedicated train consists of 5 stainless steel streamlined cars pulled by the stainless steel Crusader's shouldered streamlined Pacific 462. Yeah, I want you to search up 462, don't you? Steam locomotive. The train consisted of 2 stainless steel coaches, 2 observational cars, and a Tavern Diner car. Around the end is a observatory car, or observation car. I don't know how you say it. Was at each end. A coach, a Justin's, and Tavern car in the middle. In the early 1950s, the streamlined steam locomotive was replaced by General Motors, or EDM FP7, diesel electric locomotives. Passenger business were declined for the Reading as it was for all railroads at the time. For the coast serving in 1962, the stainless steel Crusader was sold to the Canadian National Railway. The Crusader began operating with a smooth sides car originally made for the Reading's other upscale Philadelphia through New Jersey Reading train. The Wall Street by the mid 60s, the Crusader Wall Street were the only Reading Railroad trains operated beyond West Trenton, north and back to Brown Brook. In May of 1967, the Aldine Plan went into effect. They closed the New Jersey. They closed. The trains could not go beyond New York Penn Station to New York, and basically it lasted for a pretty long time. Transit Shuttle made its final road trip due to poorly ridership and a budget difficult. The trip served 290 daily passengers because of the cost of $319 annual to run. 2 of the train's original 5 cars survived. An observation car is still in collection in the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania at Strasburg, Pennsylvania. The other observation was in service in the part of the script Washington Diner car in Washington State until 2007, and it's now part of the passenger car fleet in Iowa. Pacific Holdings, although it was a very popular train. It lasted longer than most of the streamliners that I talked about on the list. Besides the streamliner dispenser, of course. This is why the Crusader deserves the #1 spot. Because, well, besides its coloring, it was really famous for its time. So, I hope you enjoyed a very rough shot review and probably terrible at saying text. This kind of took me about almost 5 hours to do. And my head hurt after 3 a.m. Yep, I was up till 3 a.m. doing this. Yeah, here's some other trades if I forgot any. Yeah, that one I was gonna add. So, thank you for watching for no reason. I just blacked out my